Is this thing on? For those of you who don't know who Scott Adams is the creator of Dilbert and also one of my favorite books, God's Debris. It's a little mind experiment on why we're here and how everything around us was actually created. But today what we're going to talk about is his newest book, InWin Bigly. So I recently finished InWin Bigly's audiobook and it was phenomenal. I mean, it's a great book, but it starts to break down the persuasion principles and tactics that Trump used to get into office. And regardless of if you're a fan of Trump or not, in reality, learning from him is one of the best things you could do because you can understand why and how he got to where he did through that candidacy. I just wanted to cover a few of the main principles of InWin Bigly and how you can use persuasion for yourself. So first off, going through the book, it's a great book and he really breaks it down into small digestible chapters. So this is definitely a book that you could read if you're going to put it by your toilet or do something where you only have 3 to 10 minutes at a time for reading or listening to the book. But you do have to get through a bit of Scott Adams' narcissism, which he does make sure to put everywhere to show that yes, he is right and he did make a lot of money. Whoop-de-doo. Anyways, once you get past that, the core message is phenomenal. Scott breaks down how different hypnotists and persuasion tactics and sales tactics from New York specifically worked for Trump to get through the candidacy to where he is today, but he also gives other examples of things that you could use it for and how they work. Now you may be wondering, is it bad to persuade someone? And it is and it isn't, because it completely depends on the context of the situation. What's going on? Like, is the person trying to do something that's bad for themselves? Because if someone's going to jump off a bridge or the ledge of a roof, if you persuade them not to, it's not necessarily bad. It's a good skill to have in order to help frame someone's reality in a different light. And that's the case that he's trying to make, that everybody's realities are different, and no matter what you're seeing, someone else is seeing a different side of it. So the first principle I want to talk to you about is attention trumps a message. And of course I intentionally put in the word Trump there, but attention and getting more of it, especially when we have massive user bases, let's say in America almost 400 million people who a lot of them are uneducated on what's going on. They don't know who's on the ballots, what's going to happen. The more that you spread your message and get it out there, the more that people are going to vote for you, just because the availability of votes and the availability of people. So when Trump was going around and having a convention every other day, some type of rally and building a message, it allowed him to get this message out there. Even better, Scott brings up how during SNL, when they would paint Trump in the office as a lousy president versus Hillary as a drunk in the bar, it completely disrupted the mental image. So that would be principle number one, is attention trumps a message. But I also really need to stress the importance of the second one, which is that everybody's realities are different. So in the book, Scott Adams is trying to make clear that all realities aren't reality. And one of the biggest points that he makes is how Trump would say one thing and then negate it and say another thing, but to the first group of people that he was catering to, they still believed whatever was going on. And it can be seen when you look through CNN and Fox and all these competing news stations. They're saying completely different messages and their audience base is seeing completely different things, but it's the same reality that we're living in. So essentially there's multiple realities occurring at the same time, and that's a point that Scott really is trying to make clear throughout this whole book. Now when it comes to higher leverage skills though, since that's why you're here, Heightened Living, to get some higher leverage skills, we have to look at the fundamental root of what was going on during that candidacy and how Scott Adams is really talking about it in InWin Bigly. Persuasion is a higher leverage skill. Regardless of what you want to say, is it good used for good? Is it used for bad? Well, it's completely how you use it, and I trust you with how you want to use persuasion. But learning these persuasion tactics and the things that he did are common sense things. The only reason persuasion works is because it's catering to who we actually are as a person. If you don't want to vote for someone, you don't have to go out and vote for them. But if you're persuaded to do it, some part of you wants to do it. Do you see what I'm saying? So since persuasion is a higher leverage skill, you may be wondering, like, how can I use it? Where can I start to learn about it? In all reality, persuasion is something that comes down to split tests and then understanding the elements of a person. I love the book The Like Switch. It's an ex-FBI guy, and he starts to move through the different intonations and hand gestures and movements that people go to in order to start to win trust and make someone like you. And so he talks about how if you're leaned forward a little bit and your head's cocked, that you're in more of a friendly position, where if you're back and dominant, then for a new person it's isolating. The same as if you're relevant, you're around somewhere all the time, that person's got to get comfortable to you, just like Trump was with the people who had no idea who Hillary was, and being seen in all the news stations and the polls. He defeated the rest of the Republican nominees because he was always there showing himself. In the light switch, he goes on to talk about how he had one guy who was doing a stakeout, and the guy would go to the same store every day and pass by his target. And every day he would do that till that guy was comfortable with him and came for a walk with him. And of course he got the target because he was comfortable with him. So that's just a little bit of how persuasion works, and one of my favorite books for learning persuasion, since while Scott Adams does go into different persuasion elements, it still isn't the best book for, like, if you're trying to actually learn how to get someone to like you or persuade someone to do something. Again, if you have the power of persuasion, use it with good, because that's something that can dramatically change someone's life depending on how you use it, and want to make sure that you use the sword for the right thing. That's it for this quick book review. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you didn't already, make sure to subscribe, like, leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the book if you read it, or let me know another suggestion of a book similar that I should read, because I love reading and I'm kind of addicted. So I'd love to jump on my Amazon and make sure to order that book right now. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and don't forget to question everything. Everything.